Right, then let's dive into another tutorial. We've got our screencast, got our epic pen. Let's just hit N to get our sidebar, T for the other sidebar. Let's just name that miscellaneous and hide it. Let's create this simple cartoon eyes blinking in the dark is what we're going to do. Let's just dive straight in. Let's add mesh, UV sphere, wireframe, shade smooth. We'll rotate that 90. We've got our pupil facing out. We're across the x-axis. And we want to create two eyes. Just put that as 1.3. So that can be our simple eye. Eyeball, should I say. If we duplicate that and scale it a bit, so say 1.075, so it encompasses the eyeball, that can be our lids, can't it? Oh, see through. Go to edit mode. And let's have this as our lower lids here. Make sure you're selecting the faces there. That can be our lower lids. P to separate the selection. And let's go to eye, screen left, eye, upper lid screen left, eye, lower lid screen left. And you might think, well, why haven't you just put it as left or right? I suppose that is your right eye, isn't it? If you're going to have the left eye there. But a lot of animators work with screen left and screen right. So the S stands for screen. That's just the way I've always worked. It's personal preference. Let's come out of see-through. Let's go to File, Save As, Cartoon Eyes. We've got our, just check. Remember to go to Control A. All transforms to deltas. Maintain your pivot point. That can be our upper eyelid. It's our lower eyelid. That's our eyeball. Everything's moving pretty much as we want it. We have our eye dart here. And our lids pretty much in the x-axis now. We'll keep that open for now. Remember to reset it. You go to Alt-R. If you select everything and go to Alt-R, you can reset everything. Let's just leave it open for now so we can see the eyeball. Really, do you add a material while we're at it? Let's go to New. Let's go into Lit mode. Material mode, should I say. That's white. That's a plus. Now if that is not jet black, but into edit mode. We may extend it out to here. Let's just leave it like that for now. Go to Assign. That's our pupil. I'm thinking it's in the dark. Let's just leave it as that for now. Same as the pupil, see how it looks. That can be our simple cartoon eye. We want to mirror that. We want to add a mesh, UV sphere, scale this down Control A all transforms. Just name that as dummy. If we go to modifiers, generate mirror, pipette, select your dummy, and you've got something to mirror off then. So generate, then where are we? Mirror, select your dummy, generate mirror, select your dummy object. We've got 2 eyes now, haven't we? I'm guessing what we could do is we could create some different shape eyes, couldn't we? What a thing. But we'll keep it simple for now. And maybe add some different shapes a bit later on. It'd probably work, couldn't it? Let's just double check that. So we got our. You're not going to have sort of. You could have it separate, so that blinks the frame before that one hits is what you'd probably do. Just to really polish it, but we're keeping it very simple for now. We'll probably just have the one bone controls both sides, so I simply just come up and blink. So Control S to save. I think what we'll do now is we'll go to Add Armature, Single Bone. You go into the Running Man and Viewport display in front. You'll be able to see it through your mesh then. You go in front, look. If you're not in front, you won't see it. I'll undo that so we're all at 0 on our armature. Let's call that I1 rig. Control S to save. And then we want a bone system, don't we, to control this. I mean, you could animate just the mesh, in all honesty. Key. What you could do if you really wanted to be dirty is I, all channels. Then bring it down there, I, all channels. Have your auto key on. So, there, and there. That's animated. But let's just do it the proper way on this. You tend to be going into a game engine, creating a bone system. So what we'll do, we want Shift S, cursor to selected. And that way we've got a dead centre of the eye. This edit mode, Shift D, bring it up there, and then Shift S, selection to cursor. And that can be our eye bone. That can. Doesn't really matter about these values, I just like to have it bang on. Kind of 0. Keep it clean. That can be our eye left. Well, let's keep it screen left. Eye screen left. We need to add a dot L so we can symmetrize it to the other side. Can be our screen, and we need another. Shift D that, and Shift D it again. Let's call that I screen left, or I upper lid, screen left dot L, F2, copy, F2, paste. Now that as lower lid. Then again, Shift this, selection to cursor. And then with this, shift this, selection to cursor. But we want the lower lid down here, so we can distinguish between the two. I'll be coming out your mesh a little bit. There's our upper eyelid, upper lid, lower lid, eye. That's what we can do. This bone can control the upper lid, and that bone can control the lower lid. We've got our mirror modifier. But really, we don't want the mirror modifier for the eye darts. Thinking about it. So what we'll do, let's do the lids first. Let's go to lid, mesh, Control P with empty groups. But before we do that, go Alt R, reset everything. You got no values, nice and clean. So upper lid, rig, Control P with empty groups. Bone lid, white paint. You go into Tool, F to resize. I like to go to None, you can see blue. Symmetry, mirror your vertex groups, look. And have X on there to be sure. Control Shift click. Set your weight to 1. And you're painting in. Your lids here. And generally, you would have another bone here controlling it. We don't really need to on this one because we've got our mirror modifier. We'll have that bone control both of them. Are we thinking practically, saving resources? Let's also select our lower lid, Control P with empty groups. White paint, select our lower lid and paint that in. So now, if we go into pose mode, you can see that that bone is controlling the lower lids. We don't really need one for the other side. That's controlling both of them. The upper one, that's controlling both of them. Let's just leave it open for now so we can see that eyes. Let's Control S to save. Let's have a swig of water. So the eyeball, we don't really want this eye bone to work like the lids because of the pivot point. It'll rotate funny. So we'll have to do that separate. So I think what we'll do for that is we'll go into edit mode and go Shift D, just move it to there for now. So we can keep our mirror modifier on the eyelids. I think we want to apply it for the eyeballs. We'll go to edit mode. See through, select all them. Control L just to be sure. P, separate selection. then Shift S, cursor, Shift S. Let me think. Object set origin. Origin to geometry, that's it. That's what you want. Then you'll go Shift S, cursor to selected. That's it. So you want to go to set origin to your geometry first, then your cursor. If we go back into our rig, we've got this extra bone here, look. Screen. Eye screen right. Shift S, selection to cursor. So that bone's going to control. Hide the lids and see. So now what we'll do, just look at her relations. You want, have we got we want to paint our eyes now, don't we? So select our eyes in our rig, Control P with empty groups, rig mesh, white paint, select this eye, X is knocked off. That's your screen left eye, controlling your eyeball. And then rig mesh, white paint, this eye, and painting that one. And I'm rushing a bit, but I think I've done that right. I'll soon see. Go to pose mode. Yep, that's moving that eye. And the other eye. Yep, he's moving that one. So that's what we want. Select all, go to A to select all. Alt R, Alt G to reset. Let's just check what we want. We want to go into edit mode and we want this. Select that last. Control P, keep offset. And we've parented stuff now. So when we move the root bone, that's moving everything. Because as if the head's looking around in the dark. Your upper lid's controlling what it should be, the upper lid. Lower lid is controlling your lower lids. Let's just leave that open for a minute. And our eyes are separate, is what we want. Even though they'll dart together, kind of thing. So if you'd have had it with your mirror like your eyelids, you'd have come out like that, which is no good. So we're not going to move them separate, we're going to set up a constraint, they'll move together. So that's the setup of the bone system. So let's Control S to save and have a little break, I think. Right, so let's crack on with continuing with these eyes. I mean, we've set up the bone system and the weights on these eyes. So what we want to do really now is add a bit of a control system for these eyes to make it more easier, more of a kind of professional way of doing it with games and films, how it's used. So, I mean, yes, you can key that look. You'll be able to key it down there and animate it. But the professional way of doing it, we'll go into edit mode. You'll Shift D, that's an old Y, to move it along the Y axis. Then you'll Shift D that. Shift D and Alt X Now I like to set my X values to 0. It's nice and clean. And now this bone is sort of going to control this eye. It's set up like a, you've probably seen it in games, like a rig. If you've seen any game rigs where this control here, you move it and it'll move your eyes. So what you want to do for that is you'll call that's your screen right, eye screen right control, sorry. Screen left control. That can be your eye master control. And what we want to do, we want to Alt P, clear your parent. And we'll set up something now known as a bone constraint. You've got to be in pose mode for this. And you want it on this eye here. If you go into your bone constraints and go to damped track, it will turn green to show you've got a bone constraint. And what the goal is, as I say, this bone, or this bone, is going to control that bone. You'll be able to move this, move that via the damped track. It's known as, and that's the professional way to do it. So what you'll do, your target is your eye rig. Your bone, which is the control, is this. So target, your rig. Bone is your controller. What's going to control your eye. So what we want to do, you select that. You got a track axis here. Because we're on Y, usually you have to play around with the track axis. It looks like it's got it perfectly now. You'll move your kind of parent control. That's going to move your damp track, see? Perfect. So you want to do the same on the other one. Bone constraint, damp track, target is your rig, bone is your eye controller there. Let's test it. Got it. You can move them separately. If you think about eyes, they don't really go like that, do they? You can go cross-eyed. That's what your master's for there. Right. Alt G. So, in edit mode, let's select our two eyes, then our master. Control P, keep the offset. Then our master one is parented back to our root. So if we now go into pose mode, you can move the head around, for example, as if it's looking. We're going to be in the dark, remember. The beauty of this is that if you move your master, you're moving both your eyes. Which is how an eye works in the real world, isn't it? Looks around like that. You can create your eye darts now more professionally with a control system at the front there. And like with Maya, for example, with these bones, you have to have a bone. Like I used Maya for 15 years and Blender's much better and it's free. But with Maya, you'd have to have like a bone and a control. With Blender, your bone is your control. You don't have to have them both separate. So what you can do, if you go into your bone there, for example, viewport display, you can have different colours. I like to have red for right and lime for left. And that's generally B for some reason. I tend to think that as body and I have it as blue. But the more professional way of doing it on your bones is if you go into add mesh, is it mesh, empty, circle, you've got a circle there. What you can do back in pose mode is you can have your circle here as your controller, and that's the more professional way to do it for film or games. So you're not controlling it with the bone, even though the bone's controlling it, you've got a proper controller for it. But what in general, what you'll do, you'll go into your scale X. If you snap it to an orthographic, you have it like that, so it encompasses the eye. So you can move it separately or together. And you can just hide your empty, you don't need it there. Select over everything, or A, Alt R, Alt G to reset everything. So we've got everything pretty much set up as we want it now, haven't we? We've got our lids, which we can open and close. We can move our eyeballs about. We can move them separately if we wanted as well. Like if you wanted kind of a, you know, like a goggly eyed kind of effect. A, Alt R, Alt G. So yeah, I think that's pretty much the rig system set up. I think what we will do, we'll just have these as colours as well. Keep it nice and consistent. Bone colour, lime, the left. Because I'm such a perfectionist, I like to have it as I say, right, red, left, lime, but you don't have to do that. We'll have that as a lime and that as red, and you can have the pose colour as well. You can set that to be different, but I like to just keep that neutral. Obviously we don't need, not going to have rotation on that, so what you can do, I like to have just X, Y, Z. I do. Get rid of your quaternions. 3D's complicated enough. I like to set all my bones to X, Y, Z, U. But you want to make sure everything's reset first before you do that. So everything's just X, Y, Z, U now. You got one less value to worry about. So I think that's the rig system pretty much set up, isn't it? I, Alt R, Alt G, get everything reset. Nice and clean. Check the meshes, they're nice and clean. That empty can go into miscellaneous, the dummy can go into miscellaneous. We've got our eye rig, which is our parent. That goes inwards, besides the child. Everything's set up nice and clean. Shift S, cursor to world origin. I like to keep the cursor there. So that can be moved around as well, the master. I think we're ready now to think about starting to animate, aren't we, on these eyes now? So we'll do that next, start the animation. Right, so we've got our cartoon eyes set up. Now we can think about starting to animate these. Let's go into our animation tab. NT. Let's just restart screencast key so you can see that. We've got our epic pen still. And I like to be in cycles. I like to be at 1080 by 1920. That's how I like to render these days. You can obviously set it whatever you want, 4K if you want, HD, whatever. So, I'll also have my wireframe. We'll go into lit mode on this. And what we do want to do, we want to go into shading and world of our background colour as jet black. And our strength is 0. If we now go back into animation tab, lit mode, it's pure black. We don't need our cube, our dummy, our empty. We don't need our light. If you hide the light, see, you've got your pure jet black there. But obviously, we want to adjust our camera. And we want to be able to see our eyes. So what we'll do, we'll open these eyes up a bit here. We'll go into material. We want the roughness of the eyes to be shiny. So you put that as 0, but you probably won't be able to see much of that. But what we do want, let's try our emission at 2. Make sure you're on the eyeball. Emission 2. Yeah, emission 2 on our actual eyeball. And let's now bring our camera so we can see these eyeballs. We're moving our camera now. And there's our eye. As I say, we probably want about 5 sets of eyes. So there is our eye. Have your X location as 0, dead in the middle. Then just tweak it to the position you want. We'll just leave it there for now. We can see our first set of eyes. Not dead round, because that is slightly, you can see they're not dead spherical, but that's just a little it's nothing to worry about. And probably tweak the visibility in your renders and viewport, key that on and off in the blink if you want it dead round. Let's go to File, Save As, Cartoon Eyes 3. That's our first set of eyes. We can turn our miscellaneous off now, but we want more sets of eyes, don't we? What we want to do, we'll go to New Collection, Eye 1. Let's put all that into I1. Right click that, duplicate, 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 I2, I3, I4 and I5. You have to name that as well really. I keep it nice and clean. So there's our first eye, we'll leave that there. Grab our second eye and go into pose mode. Select the root. Let's move this root. Use pose mode, move it about. Let's just put it into a different position. Maybe have a little bit of perspective to it. Let's move it right back. Let's maybe move it up there somewhere. So that's that one. Let's go into I3. Into pose mode. Let's just hide I1. We can see. Yep, that's the one, I3. Let's move this around to another position. Probably maybe down here. Maybe into local mode. Maybe have a little tilt on it. Let's go into I4, into pose mode. We're just moving the eyes around. No. Could have this one. Back here, couldn't we? Right, a bit of perspective to it. Maybe there. You could maybe be looking down a little bit. Maybe that way. You counteract that one. And the last one. Pose mode. Yep. Maybe a little tilt. Maybe he could be looking down a little bit. Something like that. Just have the distances a little bit different. Have some cartoon eyes in the dark, so we've moved our root about. And what we do want to be sure of is that these lids here, which I believe is to have them as jet black to match the background. You will get a little bit of light off that. Could we have the emission maybe as 1? That's all stuff to tweak, but it's not bad with a little bit of light there. Maybe have it in between, say 1.5, so yeah, I think that's jet black as well. Is that bottom one the same? I think it's sharing the material, yeah. So there's our eyes. Control S to save. You could maybe have, more. Maybe have one down there. I was going to have 7. Let's meet it in the middle and have 6. Have one down here maybe. looking up a little bit. Let's move him right back. Something like that. Obviously, if you move it too far back, I think you can go behind the clipping plane. I think somewhere there. So there's our eyes set up. I mean, you can. I kept it nice and clean there. It's all 0. That's why it's best to keep it in pose mode and move your root. You'll keep clean the values on your armature then. So that's the eyes set up. I like 2 actually. 2 was good. Catch a bit of the lid there. So that's the eyes set up. So Control S to save. So what we're going to do now, we want to think about keying these eyes. And this one here, I think we should have him. Maybe have him dead straight there. Not dead straight, but pretty much straight. We could tilt him in a little bit. So let's, I think, just key one at a time, keep it clean. So let's hide these and let's think about I1 to start with then. Centralise it, which is delete on your numpad. We can go into just material mode to save resources to keys. Let's think about how long this animation is going to be. And we'll go for 400 frames, it's 15ish seconds, something like that. So what we want to do, we want to go into pose mode, hit A, I, key everything, copy that and paste it to 30. And a realistic blink's about 6 or 7 frames, but let's try it over 1, 2, 1. Let's try it over about 4 or 5 frames, 4 frames. He can be quite alert, this guy. He can blink quite fast. So we can just go to 0 there. 0 there. Make sure you got auto key on. There. I, all channels. We never had auto key. Set that to 0. There's his blink. We can blink quite fast. Make sure we're on 24 FPS. I have to keep changing, so I'm working on Roblox characters at the minute. For a company's 30 frames, but 24 frames for film. We're okay there. So fast blink. And then after his fast blink, I. He could do an eye dart, couldn't he? Over a frame. So let's have him. Maybe look down there. Little eye dart. I like to key all channels as a copy, and you could hold that eye dart till about 80. And then copy paste, then go back. and then say around 1:55 you could maybe blink again. Actually, we'll probably have a couple of blinks, so maybe a bit much blinking again there. What we could do, we could have another eye dart, couldn't we? This time you could look that way. Till about 86. And copy paste that so he goes back again. So let's just run that for now, see how it looks. So blink, look back, look up, look back, and maybe hold that for a bit longer. And hold it again. Adjust that frame. Then he could do his other blink, couldn't he then? We've already keyed our blink there. We can copy all of those, paste them there. There's our blink again. And the last thing you could do maybe, you just have a little brief eye dart, goes over one frame this time. He just looks there. Eye, copy, holds that till there, and then just goes back to the first pose, so it loops. Sorry, copy, paste. You've got your loop then, first frame same as the last. If we go into lit mode, we'll see our first set of eyes in the dark, blinking and looking. So we want to be doing that for our other eyes as well. And then we'll have 5 sets of eyes in the dark, looking around and blinking. But what you want to do, you want to go into the eye darts, moved a little bit differently to the traditional sort of easing in and out. They move in a linear fashion, always do. So what you want to do, you want to grab them, handle type, vector, and that way, linear. There you go. You don't have to have the vector. It's just an added bit. So if you interpolation mode linear, then they'll move very linear. And that's how eyes move. They don't move in an arc like other parts of the body. Move in a linear fashion. Your eyelids, you can keep them on your bezier, really. Just tweak your handles a bit if you want to. I think the bottom one was on the Z axis. Yeah. It's on a Z rotation, that one was. Probably best to have them dead shot. Maybe have a tiny little bit. It's all down to how you want it really. You could maybe have a few don't quite shut and a few that fully shut. All down to how you want it. So that's how you do your eyes. And you don't do any of the others different to what I've done there. You just go in, key different poses how you want them. Make sure your auto key's on. Key your eye darts. The rig we set up, and just key your eyelids. There's your cartoony eyes. And he's quite an alert one, he's like blinking quite fast, moving quite fast. Other ones, I think we could have them more sleepy. Well, let's do another one then. We'll try and do this one. He's maybe a bit more sleepy. Let's close that one for now. Let's go into pose mode. Into our first frame. Delete on the numpad to zoom into the master. I, all channels. I. And we'll copy, paste that to .90, so nothing happens really at first. And you could have a slow blink, couldn't you? Let's try it over. Maybe try it over 12 frames, see how that feels. So set your X to 0, Z to 0. See how that feels quite slow, laboured. Maybe push it a little bit more, have it over 14 frames. So it's quite a sleepy blink, isn't it? He's not really going to be eye darting much if he's sleepy. So we could copy, paste that to there. There, he could maybe have tiny little eye dart. Like that. I, Control S to save. Copy, paste that to about there. And then copy, paste back. Yeah, it's just a little eye dart. Then what he could do then maybe is start falling asleep. So maybe over let's just try 3:15. His eyes could really be, if they're shot in like that. And then them. If they're shot in. I. Let's see how that feels. Maybe over a bit more. Maybe push it to there. Try it at 50 so he's really going. Then what he could do then, copy paste. You could stay there and then just go back to the original one. So copy paste. He wakes up again. So he's not doing a lot of these. Laboured blink. And a little eye dart as if to say, what's going on? And then back. Or something like that. Maybe he comes back. Yeah, that feels better. Comes back slower. What you could even do, wondering if you could. Nah, we don't really need too many eye darts on him. He's quite sleepy, isn't he? Wonder if you could move maybe. Just one of them. You could do that in another character. You could have maybe a goggly eyed one. Yeah. Just to break it up a bit. So if you unhide 1 and 2 and Control S to save, just before we do that, remember to go into your graph editor, right click, set your interpolation to linear. These brows, lids, you can again tweak. Just tweak your curve a little bit. Could keep that going a touch so he doesn't stop dead still on the curve. Just keep it going a little bit. He's he's going to go and he suddenly wakes up. Let's just see with the 2 sets then. That's your 2 sets of eyes looping. 1 alert, 1 sleepy. You could have kind of 1 in between, 1 a bit googly eyed, or boss eyed. And another, you could maybe move the head around so the eyes are moving across a plane kind of thing. That's how you do your cartoon eyes. So what I'll do with my other 4 sets of eyes, I should just do exactly the same thing of what I've done on these 2. Keen wise and animation wise. But just try and vary it up a little bit. And I shall do them ones. And I shall come back and I'll show you what I've done. And what the final animation looks like. So I'll do that, I'll be back in a minute. Right, so let's just bring you back for this end part, show you what I've done. Nothing over the top. Obviously, I've done these other. We done these 2 eyes, didn't we? I've animated the other 4. And I've renamed everything, so it's nice and clean. I6 rig, I4 rig. So that's nice and clean. Always try and work cleanly. Obviously, in your graph editor here for your actual eye, you want to go over that and set it to linear, because I move in a linear fashion. Your eyelids, you haven't got to do much in the graph editor really, what we usually do. You just create a little bit of variation on the tangent angles if you want. But that's pretty much the 6 eyes. We press play, you can see them all eye darting around and blinking. If we go into lit mode, there they are in the dark. That's pretty much it really. A few polished things you could do, I was thinking of doing. I'm not going to do it now, but you could, for example, we go into this, you could have some different pupils. So you could just set this bit to white here instead, so your pupils are a little bit different. Or you could select the whole of that and set that to black, for example. So you've got some bigger pupils and smaller pupils, which is what I'll probably do for the final render as well. If we go into lit mode and hit F12, that's what it's going to look like. So remember, we turned our lights all off, set our world shade into black, so they're all in the dark. You'll notice there you've got a little bit of light. Obviously the emission from this eye is lighting up the shell that we created for the eyelids. So this light you can see there is from this lid. I don't think it's too bad. If you don't want that, what you could do, for example, you could go into your lid, modify, add modifier, generate, solidify, and that will give you some thickness then on the solidify. There, you created some thickness there, which, as I say, I might do that as well for the final render. So just go to add modifier, generate, solidify, increase your thickness, and you got a bit of a thickness then, haven't you, on the eyelid? You'll get rid of a lot of that shine if you don't want that. Let's hit F12 and just check that. So you've got less shine around the sides. So you might create a bit of depth, actually, that, even though you can't see it great, you can sort of feel the depth, can't you, a little bit of that. I quite like that. I might add that as well, the final render myself. It's about 400 frames. If we just analyse this, we want to obviously put the settings up. They're pretty much on max samples, look. Go to 496 on that. You want GPU compute as well. Denoise. Let's hit F12. F12. For some reason, oh, it's rendering, sorry, I keep pressing F12 and it's there rendering. There you go. So if you look at that, it's not too bad, is it? I like that. I mean, it's got a little bit of fall off there, hasn't it, from this eye. It's creating a little bit of shine onto the sort of the lids. You can see, can't you, there? That's created a little bit of depth. So that emission there is creating this little bit of shine onto the lids. So it's as if they're like a, for example, like a, you know what I mean, a stalky eyes they've got. Yeah, I quite like that. You could maybe bump up the emission more, for example, and then create some different emissions. So you got like bright, less bright. You could even have like an off white, couldn't you? Are we on the right? Are we on the right one there? Oh, it's on the emission, yeah. You could create like an off-white as well, couldn't you? Even a reddish colour. I'm just going to keep it white, I think, but could vary it up a bit of different colour. And the yellow looks alright, doesn't it? But we'll keep it as white, I think. If you've bumped up your emission strength, you'll just get a bit more fall off. Look, you'll see your the sphericalness, the sphere form, a bit more. So there's a few things you can do to vary it up a bit, but I think I'll just leave it at 2 for now. Not sure if have we got a couple of materials on there? I don't think so. So yeah, that's I think that's everything really for this. Let's just let it loop for a minute. That's what we created, some eyes in the dark, cartoon eyes like you used to get. Remember them from the 80s, Captain Caveman, things like that. Of them 80s cartoons. I'll have to try and create a few characters in some of my future tutorials for that, because I love the 80s cartoons. That's what I wanted to do, this reminds me of it. So yeah, that's it looping, got a nice loop. So I think guys, that's everything for this one. I'll just add a few little tweaks to it and I'll do a final render for that. So let's just hit F12, one more little look. That's your cartoon eyes in the dark, darting around and blinking. So I hope you enjoyed that one, something a little different where we modelled, rigged and animated some eyes. So that one's all done and I'll see you on the next one guys, cheers, bye.